Throughout this year, we've seen an incredible wave of new watch releases, and it feels like every week there's something that outshines the last. From affordable pieces to higher-end luxury models, brands have really been stepping up their game. Today we're taking a look at 8 standout releases that takes things to the next level. We've got a handful of amazing affordable watches, along with some pricier ones. Most people know Seiko by their mechanical timepieces, dive watches, dress watches, all that good stuff. So it's easy to forget that this is the brand that invented the first quartz watch. Funny enough, Seiko has pretty much stepped away from digital watches altogether, leaving that lane wide open for the likes of Casio. But back in the 70s and 80s, Seiko pretty much dominated the digital space. Even James Bond wore a few Seiko digitals in some of his movies, and real-life astronauts took them to space, especially one model called the Rotocall, which earned its nickname, the Astronaut. Now, out of nowhere, Seiko has brought it back, and it's every bit as awesome as it was 40 years ago. What makes this one special is the super clever design. Instead of having a bunch of tiny buttons like most digital watches, the Rotocall uses a rotating octagonal bezel to switch modes. Each of the 8 sides has a label for different functions: time, alarm, timer, chronograph, and so on. You just twist the bezel until the mode you want and line it up at the 12. Then use the 2 buttons on the side to adjust it. It was way more intuitive and surprisingly fun to use, especially if you're more used to analog watches. The new Rotocall Astronaut stays true to that original design, including that quirky bezel, but with a sleeker, more refined finish. The standard steel case measures 37mm across, 10.6 in thickness, and 43.5 lug to lug, so it's super wearable. It comes on a stainless steel 5-row bracelet, which is a nice upgrade from the original, and even includes a NATO strap in the box. The best part, Seiko didn't make this a limited edition. It's a fun, nostalgic throwback that's a great reminder that Seiko used to make some awesome digital watches. Back in the 60s and 70s, Yema was one of the prominent names in the European racing scene. And while brands like TAG and Rolex went on to legendary status, the French watchmaker didn't survive the quartz crisis. But since new ownership took over in 2009, Yema has been on a mission to rebuild its reputation, bringing back classics like the 1966 Speedgraph and later the retro-inspired Rallygraph. A watch that offered a more affordable entry point, replacing the automatic movement with the Seiko Mecha Quartz. While it shared much of the Speedgraph's design DNA, it leaned further into the 70s aesthetic with trapezoid subdials and a tachymeter bezel instead of the countdown timer. This latest edition has been created in collaboration with the Alpine Elf Cup series, bringing the tachymeter back under the domed mineral crystal and ditching the external bezel for a cleaner look. For those of you with a bigger budget, Yema is releasing this watch in an automatic version as well, that proudly wears Alpine's iconic light blue colorway. The watch perfectly channels the spirit of that original 67 to 77 Alpine era. One of the big standout features are the double-sign dial featuring Yema's and Alpine Cup Series logos, a stylized Alpine A as the chronograph hand's counterweight, and subtle blue accents across the seconds hand and tachymeter scale. Flip it over and there's some cool branding on the case back. The Seiko Mecha Quartz VK64 powers the engine, and for the hand-wound movement it uses a Sellita 510, which has a 60-hour power reserve, small seconds at 9, and a 30-minute counter at 3. It delivers a ton of those old-school racing themes, and it's one of the best Panda or reverse Panda watches you could buy for under $500. The quartz versions are priced at $450 on leather or $550 on a steel bracelet, and the mechanical edition comes in at $2,390 on an Alpine blue leather strap, and it's limited to just 100 units. In 1985, Back to the Future got released and instantly put Michael J. Fox on the map. And if you've ever watched it closely, you'll probably have noticed that Marty McFly wore one of Casio's most legendary watches, the Calculator watch. Now, 40 years later, Casio is bringing it back with a fun twist that pays tribute not just to the movie, but to its real star, the DeLorean time machine. It is still the classic calculator watch we love, with the same digital display on top, the push-button keyboard on the bottom, and that simple quartz movement powered by a 5-year battery. And it also keeps all the familiar features as well: alarm, stopwatch, calendar, 12 and 24-hour time, and of course, the calculator. But what makes this one special are all the little details. The keypad has been redesigned to look like the DeLorean time circuits, complete with red, yellow, and green digital style numbers. Above the display, you'll notice, at a time, a nod to the DeLorean's license plate. And the case back has some really fun details as well. Even the packaging is straight out of the 80s, coming in a box that looks like an old school VHS tape. It's an awesome throwback that perfectly blends movie magic and retro watch charm. The watch is going to be released soon on Casio's international site for around $154, but there's no word yet on a US release. Hajime Asaoka is one of the few modern watch designers whose name carries real weight with collectors thanks to the brand's Kurono Tokyo. Founded in 2019 as a more affordable offshoot of his high-end custom work, Kurono has built a cult following with their beautiful designs and limited releases. It looks like he's outdone himself with the Grand Jubilee calendar, an automatic triple calendar created to celebrate his 60th birthday, hence the Diamond Jubilee name. It's based on an earlier release, but refined in all the right ways. He wore his watches almost every day, which helps him spot little details to improve, and this model is packed with all those subtle upgrades. The dial now has more depth and cleaner layers, with a guilloche center that ties everything together and makes the design feel lighter. The day and month subdials are now etched directly into the dial plate, and the date window has been reworked to be more readable. The signature syringe and leaf hands are still there, but the font has been updated, and the color perfectly matches the deep black of the onyx in the crown. My standout version is the salmon color, which is inspired by Tokyo's leaves, and it looks incredible. The 38mm case keeps the smooth, mirror polished look the brand is known for, but swaps the old coin edge bezel for a slimmer, cleaner design with the box sapphire crystal. On the back, there's a gold emblem engraved, marking his 60th year. Inside is a Miyota 9022 automatic movement, which has a 40-hour power reserve. It's priced at $2,380, but there might be some import taxes currently, as we're all aware, so do keep that in mind if you do pull the trigger. The watch goes live on the 17th, and if it's anything like the previous releases, it will probably sell out. Almost every watch brand out there has their own version of iconic luxury watches, oftentimes inspired by AP's Royal Oak, Patek's Nautilus, or one of Rolex's legendary references. But Mido decided to go a different route with their Multifort Big Day TV, taking cues from Patek's Aquanaut. Since launching the original steel version, Mido has released a ton of different variations which all look really fantastic. One in gold, a black PVD version, and a smaller 35mm size. But now they're taking things up another level with a titanium case and bracelet, making it a lot lighter but still maintaining a lot of those high-end finishes the brand is known for. The broad Aquanaut-inspired bezel is vertically brushed on top with polished sides. The case stays slim at just 11.5mm, and it's still water-resistant to 100 meters with that screw-down crown. The bracelet is not integrated, but it does kind of mimic the Nautilus style with brushed H-links flanking polished centers and keeps the quick-release system from the steel models. The dials received a pretty serious upgrade as well, with engraved horizontal lines instead of a simple brush texture, with a subtle gray color and black text and white on black big date windows, giving it a more sophisticated monochrome look that pairs perfectly with the muted sheen of titanium. Powering the engine is the reliable and super accurate ETA Powermatic 80, which does have an 80-hour power reserve and a Nevachrome hairspring. And there's also the dual window big date complication, which we usually see on a little bit more expensive watches. At $1,580 on the bracelet, the titanium version costs just $140 more than the steel model, which definitely isn't all that much for a much more expensive material. I don't think Mido gets all the love and attention it deserves, and hopefully this watch helps put them on the map because it's really quite incredible. I don't work for a watch company, but I imagine it's both a blessing and a curse when your name is tied to just one model. Watches like the JLC Reverso or the AP Royal Oak. They're so iconic that even people who aren't into watches know those names. But that kind of fame can also make the rest of your lineup fade into the background. No brand knows that better than Blancpain. Founded way back in 1753 and now part of the Swatch Group, Blancpain is known by most people for one thing, the 50 fathoms. Inventing the dive watch and staying at the top of the game is an incredible achievement, but the brand has so much more going on. And this new model is proof of that. This is the opposite of a rugged diver. It's a classic, elegant dress watch with Roman numerals, leaf-shaped hands, and a crescent moon phase that gives it a ton of old-school charm. The collection takes its name from the Swiss town where the brand started almost 300 years ago. Inspired by 19th century clocks, you get all the signature details. The leaf hands, the S-shaped date pointer, Roman numerals, and that signature moon phase, but with some nice modern touches. The hands now have loom inserts, the Roman numerals are cleaner, and the 12 o'clock marker has been replaced with Blancpain's B logo. The moon phase also gets a beautiful upgrade, with a raised gold moon and stars made of 18 karat gold. The watch comes in 4 versions, opaline or golden brown dials paired with either steel or red gold cases and matching alligator straps. I also like how the case design's also been tweaked, with a slimmer bezel, a slightly larger crown, and more refined lugs that make it sit better on the wrist. It's priced at $36,000 in red gold and $20,400 in steel. Both powered by Blancpain's in-house caliber 6654 automatic with a 72-hour power reserve and their clever underlug calendar adjustment system. It's really cool to see what this brand could do aside from just deep diving, and this is a great example. Just a year after revamping the Speedmaster Dark Side of the Moon Apollo 8, Omega has given its full dark ceramic Speedmaster lineup a major overhaul, releasing 4 models, 7 if you count strap variations, each with slimmer cases, improved finishing thanks to the new beveled polished ceramic process, and a cool new fitted rubber strap with a lunar texture on the underside. It's now thinner at just 15 millimeters, powered by the coaxial master chronometer caliber 9900, features a new and improved tachymeter bezel, a laser brushed ceramic dial, 18-karat white gold hands and indices, and superluminova. It also takes advantage of the skeletonized aluminum dial that features the near side lunar surface. All of these models are absolutely incredible, and my favorite might be the one called Dark Vader. It combines blacked out hands, indices, and lume with great text for legibility, a manually wound 9908 in black, a slimmer case at just 13mm, and an all-black rubber strap. But its standout feature is the bright red varnish chronograph second hands paired with the red Speedmaster dial text, giving some serious Darth Vader lightsaber vibes. All the new ceramic Speedmasters are part of Omega's permanent collection and replace previous generations. The prices range from $15,700 up to $16,400. When most people think of Zenith, the first thing that comes to mind is their legendary El Primero, the high-beat chronograph that debuted in 1969 and helped define modern watchmaking. While there is some debate on who actually released the first automatic chronograph that year, the Zenith El Primero definitely left its mark. But the brand is more than just that chronograph. They were also ahead of its time with the Defy, one of the first true luxury sports watches with its 14-sided bezel, which coincidentally was released a few years earlier than the Royal Oak. It's also the only brand that's legally allowed to put Pilot on their watches. And every now and then, Zenith drops something that reminds us that they could go toe-to-toe with the best innovators in the business. Case in point, the new Defy Zero G Sapphire. Easily one of the brand's wildest and most impressive creations yet, and definitely incredibly expensive. The watch combines 2 really cool elements, a full sapphire case and Zenith's mind-blowing zero-G gravity control mechanism. Think of it like a next-level version of a tourbillon. Instead of rotating the balance wheel to average out gravity's effects, the control system uses a tiny gimbal that keeps the balance perfectly horizontal no matter how you move your wrist. It's ridiculously complex, made of 139 components, packed into just 1.3 cubic centimeters. And it's smaller and more advanced than its 2008 version. Then there's the case, a 46mm body made fully of sapphire, which is definitely really difficult to produce since it has to be cut from solid blocks of one of the toughest materials on Earth. You could get it in clear sapphire or blue, both fully transparent and practically scratch resistant. The openwork dial has a brushed blue main-plate, a power reserve at 2 o'clock, and subdials made of natural stone, giving each watch a one-of-a-kind look. Both versions are available for well over $200,000, which is absolutely wild and one of the most expensive Zenith watches, but this watch is mind-blowing. That's it for the watches today. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at 8 standout new releases. Definitely let me know which was your favorite, or there's one you just didn't like at all. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.